6:30 ABC, biggest game of week 11 of the college football season in the year 2023. We have number 5 Washington traveling to number 10 Oregon State, a top 10 showdown here between the Huskies and the Beavs. Now, Oregon State comes in 8-2 overall. Have a couple of good wins so far in a row. They beat Stanford 62-17. And then the week before, they beat Colorado at Colorado 26-19. Washington, on the other hand, has two even more impressive wins back-to-back at USC and then at home versus Utah. Both of those games were extremely close. Vegas thinks this game is going to be a toss-up here. They've got Washington favored by 1 point right now. Over under 63.5. Chase, let's start with you on this one. What are your thoughts? Does Washington remain undefeated heading into the last week of the college football year?
Yeah, this week, guys, man, we call this the best game of the week, man, because it's the week right before the end of the season when a lot of rivalry games will happen next week, and it's just cupcake teams after cupcake teams. So this is the best game, but don't get it twisted. Both of these teams are very quality products to watch, and it's a 6:30 game. It's not a 9:30 like the Pac-12 usually is. So I'm going to be sitting here watching this glued to my couch for sure. So Washington been playing okay as of late. Kind of escaped USC, even though USC doesn't have a defense. Escaped Utah last week and was down at one point at that one. Escaped Stanford as well on the road. And a couple of these that I'm talking about here, besides Utah, have been on the road. And then you also got Oregon State, who was just playing phenomenal. Shout out DJU from Clemson this past year, absolutely making that team relevant in all that they do. Only losses Arizona and Washington State, so very weird for them. Man, I don't know. I think at the start of this week, it's Sunday when we're recording. I'm building a dam. That's what I'm doing. I'm going outside. I'm cutting down some logs, and I'm building a dam because I think Oregon State at home is going to shock the world. And Washington's going to lose this game. Been playing very poor lately, in my opinion. The defense hasn't shown up like we saw in the Oregon game. Maybe they got a little lax, said, hey, we can get through some of these games, and has not shown up. I've got Oregon State and DJU in week 11, I believe it is, to shock Washington. Washington no longer undefeated. Quinn.
That pun was terrible. Second off, Oregon State has all the world in front of them, right? So if you think about like the Oregon State fan base and the Washington State fan base, two teams that are being left in the Pac-2, their rivals are two of the teams that are dipping to the Big Ten that kind of mess this up for everybody. And for Oregon State, their last two games of the year are Washington and Oregon. How sweet it could be to get those wins. Play in the Pac-12 title game. That's what would happen if they got those two wins. Be a real nice end storybook season for them. I tend to agree with you here, Chase. I think they're going to upset Washington this week. And I think it's going to happen because Corvallis is going to be insane.
Right.
I think that stadium's going to be on fire. And I think Washington's due for a letdown. They've been playing with fire for a couple weeks in a row now. I think it's finally going to burn them. I think you got an offense on the other side of the ball that can take advantage of scoring consistently on this Washington defense. We'll see. I think the crowd noise is good for one or two mistakes from Penix, and that's all Oregon State's going to need to pull off a narrow upset. So give me the Beavers.
Wow. Yeah, so guys, a couple things before I make my pick here. Oklahoma State in Bedlam, kind of the same scenario here where Oklahoma's leaving the Big 12. That rivalry game will be no more. And I picked Oklahoma State to win that game simply because of that. I thought they had more hype. They had more to play for. And then you come to this game, similar scenario. I've picked Washington to lose the past 2 weeks that we have picked them back-to-back between USC and Utah. I've picked them to lose that game simply because I think they're playing with fire, just like you said, Quinn. And I've been wrong 2 weeks in a row. I think I've learned my lesson in picking against this Washington team, but I'm still going to do it. I have to. I hate that you guys both picked Oregon State to win this game because I wanted to be the guy to pick Oregon State to win this game. Shock the world. Finally, a top 10 team in Oregon State. The past 2 years for Oregon State has been unbelievable.
Yeah.
By the way, ESPN has this at a 52% chance Washington wins. So even the deep analytics here think that this is going to be a toss-up of a football game. Vegas agrees that this is going to be a coin flip game because it's a 1-point spread against Washington. Give me the Beavs to win this game, kill Washington's vibe and their momentum, and this opens up the door, I think, for Alabama to make the college football playoffs, and especially if Oregon State can beat Oregon again, or beat Oregon next week. Wow, what an end of a year that would be.
And let me just say this. Let me beg the question. It can be rhetorical, gentlemen, but Beavs beat Washington. Beavs beat Oregon. Beavs win Pac-12 championship. Is there an outside shot at the playoffs? Outside. Maybe they end at 5 or 6. Again, it can be rhetorical, Quinn. You don't have to answer so fast.
I mean, they can lose it. I mean, they could end at 6, but no 2-loss teams ever made the playoffs.
Their problem is the 2 losses. I'll tell you this: if there is an opening for a 2-loss conference champion to get in, they will. Problem is there isn't going to be one. You're going to have an undefeated Big Ten team. You're going to have, let's assume, you could have the potential for 2 1-loss SEC teams. With an Alabama upset of Georgia. That would be a nightmare scenario for Oregon State. So if you're wanting in, you need Alabama to get beat there, clear up those 2 spots. You need Texas to lose again, and then we could be talking.
Right. Okay.